Hello and welcome to Carspotting. We're here in Gowanus in Brooklyn. Now, if this were any normal episode of Carspotting, we would start the episode with this 1995 Mercedes E-Class that has moss growing out of it. If it were not for the more interesting car right here, now we would, if this were a normal episode of Carspotting, start the episode with this 1960s Ford Thunderbird. If it were not for actually the more interesting car right over here. It's this guy. Hello from Brooklyn's probably most recognizable car. This is a classic Mini. As you can tell, this is a bone stock vehicle. Now, a lot of people think of Minis as being small cars, and in one dimension, they certainly are, but it's often forgotten that British people are unusually tall. And what they think of as being a relatively short vehicle, to Americanize, is actually a lot taller. So as you can see, Minis came stock with what appears to be maybe a Chevy S10 frame underneath them and rear-wheel drive. So this is a Trar. I can't believe that in the, I guess, approximately 48 years that we've been shooting Carspotting, that we've never shown this thing. This is really one of Brooklyn's most enigmatic vehicles. We're here in Gowanus. It's 3rd and 7th. Normally, I hesitate to say exactly where some of these cars are, but if you've driven anywhere in this area, you will have seen this thing. First of all, it's bright green because it's from the 1970s, and also it's a Trar, so it's a car sitting atop a truck frame and the rest of the truck parts. So we can see it's actually a shortened frame. We can see the front of the engine there. And I know it's a Chevrolet because if you peep inside, you can see it's got an old Chevy steering wheel. If I had to guess, this would be a Chevy S10 because I don't know what else it would be. That would be this short. It's certainly not like a 1500 or something. But yeah, this is something that you used to see more of back when. Of course, cars in general used to be body on frame. Trucks still are. But the idea of your body and your chassis, your frame and your body being separable and kind of you could mishmash, Lego them together, would have made sense more to someone in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, into the 80s, into the 90s. Now it seems a little idiosyncratic. It's a little strange because all of our cars, that one, 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 not that one, all these things are unibody cars. So, you know, you can't really fit a body on top of a frame. That doesn't quite fit. Now, it's not that the Mini was different. This is, of course, a unibody car, but the Mini being so small, you can actually just plop the whole thing on top of a relatively small truck body, and it's not that difficult. Cut a hole in it where you can stick a small block Chevy or whatever this is, the V6, small block Chevy. You cut a hole for it, you jam the body, you jam the stuff through it, and then you've got a Trar, a car truck, whatever you want to call it. It's harder and harder to find Trars these days. You see them very irregularly, but you used to see them periodically, lifted Firebirds and stuff like that. This one is an absolute treat. It's looking in slightly rough shape these days. It used to sort of park on the avenue itself and they'd move it around a bit. This is a slightly later look to it where it got this more modern 1970s grille, this cool mini script. The earlier ones look a little bit more antique, like the Italian job ones have a little bit more of like an old school face. It's a crack up seeing this small of a vehicle be presented with such truck mechanicals of it. And I think that's probably why this got built. It's not a good idea to do it, but you take one look at it and you know it's a great idea. It's also just funny, I'll also say that these things were were super optimized to be as compact as possible. The original Mini was done by a man named Sir Alex Isaganis. He was an auto engineer who was knighted for his work. Did some really interesting stuff to make sure that this Mini was as compact as possible, to use up as little space as required for the parts that were needed to make the car go, so it could have as much room for the people inside as possible. So the original Mini was front-wheel drive. and was so compact, in fact, that the engine and the transmission shared oil. It was all like one glob together. Another car which had a similar setup was the Lamborghini Miura. And it's funny seeing something which is so precisely engineered for this like optimizing use of space, save every gram, etc., is just thrown on top of this like truck frame, which is the exact opposite. We got leaf springs, we've got super basic suspension, we've got just a reasonably crude V8. Total opposites. They absolutely attract. Thing rules. Yes. Anyway, great car. One of the best in the whole town. In New York, the New York metro area. 20 million people. That's one of the best cars we got. Oh, look at this! Beep for Bernie on the Merkur XR4 Ti. Yes. Vote Bernie, y'all.